Well, hello, what's up? Welcome, Mo Radio Show podcast, themoradioshow.com, and the Mo Radio Show at gmail.com if you want to shoot me an email. How are we doing? What's going on? You can enter the podcast. I've posted the link if you'd like to enter. If you'd like to talk, if you'd like to discuss, if you have an opinion, you can do so. I just ask that you have your earbuds on, earbuds or headphones. So there's not like, tremendous feedback. All right. So I decided to do this today because I'm I don't understand I don't understand people. I think is really what's going on. And I every day I have a different feeling on it. Some days I'm just, just let it go kind of situation. Some days I'm pissed. And usually I come up with the idea that I'm going to get on and I'm going to do a show when I'm pissed. That's usually how it goes. When I'm pissed and I feel like, all right, people need a voice of reason. And I've always kind of been known as the guy on the radio who tells it like it is, and it's the voice of reason. But quite honestly, I don't even know if we know what reason is anymore. I don't know. I don't understand the time we're living in. And as I was getting ready to do the show today, I'm going, I wonder if, because I've been doing radio for so long, that I understand the art of argument or debate. And there's so many people who don't and are still somewhat new to it. I got into radio well before the Facebook era. And Twitter and everything else. It was, I'm on the air and then there's arguments going on and there's debates and that's the end of it. Well, now with social media and everything else, I said this a long time ago. It gave everybody the opportunity to be the person on TV, to be the person on the radio. Because now everybody, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with this, but everybody has a voice and everybody wants everybody to hear their opinions. So with this coronavirus, COVID-19, whatever the hell you want to call it, the past, I don't know, maybe week or two, there's been the discussion on, did we handle it right? And are we handling it right now by opening everything up? And should we have closed everything down? And quite honestly, I'm here to tell you there's something else, the afterworld. Now, I'm here to tell you that nobody has a clue. Nobody knows. I don't understand the point of debating listen, you want to debate, fine. You have an opinion, fine. Everybody does. Maybe this is one time, quite honestly, where I don't have an opinion on this because I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I don't talk to doctors. I don't know. And quite honestly, you don't know either. Nobody knows. Nobody has a clue. And to see people argue this, to see people get so bent out of shape over something that they have no clue about is quite honestly sheer insanity. You hear people coming out against governors for closing down the states in which they did. People coming out against Ohio for closing down the way they did. Then you got people right now who are damning Ohio for opening up again. Nobody has a clue about this because we have never been in this situation. The situation we've been in for the past, a little over 2 months. So I kind of want to get into all of this. Feel free to comment if you like. I'll read your comments. Again, you could enter the show if you like as well. All right. The thing with this COVID-19 is the way I kind of see it. It was people died. Okay. And this is the conundrum that the government is left with, because you when it comes to human life, you can't use it's the lesser of two evils argument. Now, everybody's doing that. Like us, the people, are doing that. It's the lesser of two evils. You have to open everything up so people can get back to work, because obviously this is killing the economy. But you're putting lives at risk when doing this. Now, I've heard the argument, this many people die of cancer. This many people die of just various different, ailments, which is true. But is this COVID-19 a preventable illness? Like, cancer for the most part isn't preventable. I was sitting there and the arguments, when it comes to the flu and everything else. I was looking at the stats of Ohio today, and it's like 30,000 people had coronavirus and a little over 2,000 people died from it. Okay. Now you look at that number and you're like, well, it's 2,000. Listen, we have how many millions of people in Ohio? Millions of people in Ohio, right? But only 2,000 people died from it. That's 2,000 people. And it's 2,000 people in 2 months. That's the truth. 2,000 people died in 2 months in the state of Ohio from coronavirus. Now, I guess if you want to argue 0.001 and everything, but that's 2,000 lives or families were affected by that. It's the honest to God truth. That's in Ohio. Now, obviously the bigger cities, you're in the tens and tens and tens of thousands of that. That's still people dying. So the government, this is how it works. The government cannot put people in the category of lesser of two evils. The government's job is to protect. So I firmly believe here that the government didn't know how to react to this situation. And I still can't tell you if they reacted the right or the wrong way. And I don't know that anybody really can. The argument is, well, the numbers are so so much lower than anticipated. But they're so much lower than anticipated because we did shut it down the way we did. If we didn't shut it down the way we did, then the numbers would have been to the point that where they were originally expected or anticipated to be. That's one argument on that. There's also the argument that the fact that we've never been in this situation, we didn't know how to react to it. I was listening to somebody yesterday talk about this, and it's the truth. We're going to deal with this again next year. COVID-19 is not going away. It's not leaving us. It's here. So the question is, how are we going to deal with this again when it hits us next year? And it may be a different strain and the vaccinations and everything else. Because if it is the case that it was not as bad as originally thought, but the reason it wasn't as bad is because we shut everything down. You got to understand, we can't just keep shutting down the country. We can't. We can't go through a 2-month hiatus every single year on this. And quite honestly, if we don't, then how bad is it going to be? Charlie writes in, he goes, people constantly talking out of their ass. The thing is, that's what it is. It's misinformation. Nobody has an idea. Nobody has a clue. People are talking out of desperation right now. There's people who aren't working who are talking out of desperation. Just open everything up, open everything up, open everything up. Well, I think it's easy to say that, if you weren't impacted, if you weren't affected by somebody dying. Now, they're also saying that, in most situations, in most cities, it was the majority, the vast majority were people with other conditions, underlying health issues, or in nursing homes. In some cases, it was like 40% in nursing, like Michigan was something like 40%, New York, 40% of the people who died were in nursing homes. Again, I get it, but that's still, you got to understand something, man. And again, I'm just sitting here playing, I don't want to say it's devil's advocate, but I'm trying to put you in the position of understanding the situation that 2,000 people were put in the state of Ohio, where somebody died who would probably be alive right now if it wasn't for COVID-19. If it wasn't for the coronavirus, they would still be alive right now. So how do you look at those people and say, well, you know what? Sorry. Sucks to be you. These people walking around saying this thing isn't real. Well, it's real. It is real. Well, it wasn't as bad as they thought it was going to be. Again, I teeter-totter on this, man. I do. Because I personally don't know anybody who got it. I personally don't know anybody who died from it. I put it this way. I personally do know people who got it. And actually, I do know people who died from it, but from a long time ago. I have a DJ friend who did die from it in Youngstown. So I do know people who died from it. So it is real. It's a real thing. So this going around saying it's not real. Is this a case where the media finally won? The media has been scaring the hell out of us for, how many years when it comes to everything. That's what the media does. The media's job is to scare the hell out of you. So was this the case where the media actually kind of finally won? They were scaring the hell out of you out of Ebola and SARS and anthrax and swine flu and all this other crap we've dealt with our entire lives, right? So was this the time where they finally won? I heard something interesting the other day. There was a doctor in Dallas. Yes. Hello, Rick. As my father's typing in. Hi. Hello, sir. You can enter the room if you like, if you got earbuds. There was a doctor in Dallas. I wonder if I could probably find it here on my Facebook page where it was sent to me. I found it somewhat interesting because I have been saying this in regards to how the media is presenting their stories to us, where again, they're scaring the hell out of us, is what they're doing. And it's funny, but how you word something can scare the hell out of you. So this is a message. I like how people write this too, by the way. I'm not saying it's not true, but hurry up and post this before it gets taken down. Is Facebook really, with all the bullshit I've seen out there, with all the misinformation I've seen out there, is Facebook really honestly taking things down? I see more bullshit on Facebook. More obvious just lies. And you're telling me that they're what is, other than if it's nudity, what is Facebook taking down? Because I've yet to see it. Like I know there's this argument on it, and I hear people say it all the time that Facebook takes things down because, well, you know, they're working for the government, and there's certain things we shouldn't see. So again, the question is, are they really taking things down? Is that really happening? So I'll get to this in just a second. But it's a doctor in Dallas, Texas, and the doctor is in front of a big crowd, and the doctor's breaking down coronavirus and people infected and people dying. And she says something along the lines of, you know, there's this many people in Texas, there's this many people in Dallas, you know, whatever, how many people are in Dallas, I don't know. Couple million. So she's going, out of everybody in Dallas, you know, 60,000 people came down with coronavirus. And only, now I'm paraphrasing, I don't know the exact numbers, but then she says that 2,000 people died from coronavirus. And then I've seen these posted like this, and I don't understand it. Then it says people who recovered from coronavirus, you know, 15,000, let's say. Now, those numbers, they don't add up. Let me ask you a question. If you didn't die from coronavirus, didn't you then recover from coronavirus? So if out of 30,000 people, let's say, 2,000 people died from coronavirus, 30,000 people got it, 2,000 people died from it, wouldn't that then mean that 28,000 people recovered from it? But if you've been paying attention, that's not how the numbers are given to you. Now, how anybody with half a brain can't figure that out, I don't know. But that is, again, the media. I don't know how they come up with that, but that's the media trying to scare the hell out of you. Because, listen, that's the media's job. The media, let me tell you something, all right? If you're in the media, and a story like this comes along, you're chomping at the bit. It's a weird situation media people are in. And I can tell you that, you know, being a guy who's part of the media and who has been part of the media, when something happens, you're instantly like, all right, I have something to talk about today. I have something to get to. I have something that is going to generate phone calls. You know, one thing that sucked is me being off the radio these past couple months. Now, although I'm on a sports talk station, you know, it still was like, you know, I wanted to be on the air during this because it's a good radio show. Every day, it's a good show. There's things to talk about. You know, some days you're struggling for things to talk about. It happens all the time. I'm usually pretty good at finding things, but still. So the media, if you really want to, you know, break this down, the media doesn't really want the story to go away, because every day it's easy. Every day, this is what you're talking about. Every day it's COVID-19. So that's how it works. But when I was watching this video, I found that interesting because that's something I had been thinking about since this had happened. If 50,000 people got coronavirus, all right, and 4,000 people died from coronavirus, that means 46,000 people recovered from coronavirus, doesn't it? Isn't that how that's supposed to be, or am I wrong here? But that's basically the gist of what this doctor was talking about. I can't get to the video now on this. I don't know why, but I found that very interesting. And again, it was something that I had been thinking about for a while when it came to this coronavirus. So then you can get into this, and I got into this conversation the other day. The theories on COVID-19, the theories, I've been accused, and I say this like that, an accusation, because people look at it in people look down on me, I think, because of this. Or my whole life, I've been, again, accused of kind of causing, I don't want to say causing trouble, but accused of, I guess, not doing things in a normal way, or thinking outside the box, or asking questions, analyzing things. I've always been that person, and I've been accused of it. It's like, oh, there he goes again. It can't just be, I'm not the kind of person that hears something and just accepts it for what it is. And quite honestly, I think if you are that kind of a person, that's fine. But one of what I believe I guess the more, when people say ignorance is bliss, I don't think anything has ever been really more true than that. Ignorance is bliss. Break that down. It is. See, being called ignorant isn't really a put down. It just means you don't know. And there's people who choose not to know. There's people who choose to just accept what is being fed to them with no questions asked. And that's fine. Listen, I understand why people do that, because I drive myself crazy, and I have really my entire life trying to analyze things and figure things out. So I'm not one of these ignorance. I understand ignorance is bliss. I get it. Quite honestly, there's a lot of times in my life I wish I was like that. My brain doesn't work like that. That's not how I go about things. And my life would be a lot easier if I did, but it's not how I work. So when people get on you for questioning certain things, how many of you honestly trust the government? Like, honestly trust the government? Like, you're going to sit here and tell me the government has never done anything wrong, and the government has never steered us in the wrong direction. But it's funny, during this COVID-19, there's plenty of people out there, plenty, who are telling you, believe the government, wear your masks, do this, do that, do this, do that. Correct? But then you damn the person who's questioning the government or questioning how they're going about things. And again, I've always been that person that did question things. And not to sit here and say that I'm right. I started off the show today by telling you nobody knows. I don't have a damn clue as to if we did this right or wrong. I don't know. But again, you don't know. Unless you're a doctor, you don't know. And quite honestly, every single doctor is being debunked by another doctor. You got Fauci, who's the guy. He's the guy talking. He's the guy giving the advice to the president and everything else, right? There's people who call Fauci a fake, a phony. He don't know what the hell he's talking about. Right? So you got one doctor saying one thing, you got one doctor saying another thing, you got one doctor saying another. So again, we don't know. Nobody knows. So anybody to really, again, give your opinion on it, but don't act as though your opinion on this is fact. Because you have no clue. You don't know. David writes in, he goes, my theory is population control with COVID-19. I'll tell you what, that I don't believe any theory on this. If you want to call it again, conspiracy theory. There he goes again with the conspiracy theories. Right? I'm sure everything went down the way they said that it went down. I'm sure JFK, the assassination, went down the exact way they said it went down. I'm sure it went down to a T when it came to JFK or when it came to 9/11, when it came to the Vietnam War or everything else out there. I'm sure that it's exactly what the government said it was. Right? I mean, come on now. They wouldn't lie to us about this, would they? They wouldn't lie to us about this. The government is telling us the exact truth every time they talk to us. I don't give a shit if you're a Donald Trump fan or not. Donald Trump is a liar. Now, he could be lying to us because it's in our best interest. Perhaps because God knows there's people who can't handle certain things. You want to call it, damage control or, reducing chaos. But Donald Trump is not telling us everything he knows. He's the president. No president's going to tell you everything he knows. Whether you're a Trump person or not, it doesn't matter. Again, conspiracy theories, aliens and extraterrestrials and everything else. You see, the people who question this, called conspiracy theorists, are almost called wacky at times or whack jobs, or again, searching for something, causing, a drama where there doesn't need to be drama. So I'm not laughing. I'll be honest with you, man. And I really mean this. Obviously, there's conspiracy theories I've heard over the years that I think are nuts. But I'm also in the same category where I don't put anything past anybody. And right now, with COVID-19, I'm going to be honest, man. I think every theory is a possibility. I really do. Whatever your theory is on COVID-19, I honestly believe it could be possible. Population control, David writes in. Analyze COVID-19. Doesn't go after kids, kills off the old and the weak. That's nature, right? It came from China, who's been known to take out their people because it's so overly populated. Right? So is it nuts to say, hey, this was, population control? That this was man-made? Now, if you want to sit there and say I'm nuts for thinking that that's a possibility, then fine. Again, ignorance is bliss. You're right. What the government tells you is absolutely true, and it always has been. See, you can't have it both ways. You can't sit here and say, I don't trust the government, and I don't trust, the senators, the president, the Congress people. I don't trust any of them, but you're goddamn insane for saying that. You're nuts. Why? as we're sitting here living in a time that we have never lived in before. The earth has been around a long time. We've never dealt with anything like this, especially with our medical technology that we have now. You could whip out with the Black Plague or the Spanish flu or everything else. Okay, fine. But again, we're living in, we in times where, we have technology out there. So you've heard the population control. How can you honestly debunk that? I know you don't want to think that something was put out there to do that. You know why? And again, this is why the government has to lie to you. Because the government's job is what? The government's job is to make us feel safe. The government's job is to make us feel as though we aren't vulnerable, that we're protected, which is why they can't come out and say, again, my opinion. Now, again, I know I'm nuts. My opinion, which is why they can't come out and say, yeah, obviously there's aliens out there. Obviously there's life on other planets. And quite frankly, they've probably been here. Now, that makes you feel like I'm out of control. Uh-oh. Charlie writes in. He goes, I believe the virus escaped from a biological warfare lab. Now, I believe that too. It's the same lab, the same area where SARS came from. And this is basically SARS. It's just a more advanced version of SARS is what it is. All right, so you got that. You got, was it biological warfare that escaped? Yeah, it seems as though that's a viable theory. It makes a lot of sense. Again, I know you don't want to think that, and you're not. Nature created this. You know what created this? Somebody in Wuhan ate a bat. Somebody in Wuhan ate a bat, and now we're dealing with coronavirus. Now, if you want to believe that, listen, that may have happened too. Again, there's no theory out there, in my opinion, that should be instantly debunked or instantly laughed at. I think anything could be the cause of all this. See, that's the thing too. People are just giving their opinions, and people are just almost brainstorming. That's what I find myself doing. I get in a conversation. It's like, well, could it have been this? 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 Sometimes you don't need to really know. You're never going to know the answer. Nobody's ever going to tell you what really caused this. Nobody, you're never going to know. It's never going to happen. So the fact of the matter is why not sit and listen to other people's theories, other people's opinions? I'll tell you another one, and I firmly believe this, and I'll give you the reason why I firmly believe this. Okay? I believe a theory could be that this was a test run to see how easily the government could take control of the people. I believe that is a viable theory. I believe, quite honestly, that could be the reason. Am I nuts? Maybe. But for a long time, and again, I guess I could use, I think this because of my personal beliefs on certain things. For years on the radio, I had the argument of the government taking control. And people would go out and, they're buying guns, talking about the Second Amendment and guns and the government taking control. And I'll be honest with you, I would at times laugh at that and say, listen, the government's never going to, you can't do that. You could never just take control. There'll be a revolution. How are you telling me the government could, again, I'm ignorant for saying these things. When I would argue this, the government's going to take it. What are you talking about? It says the government's not going to take control. The government just took control in 2 months easily. You know, the easiest way to take control is to install fear. The easiest way to take control is under the illusion that, well, we know what's best for you. I always, my mentality was, what, the government's just going to suddenly come in and one day you're going to wake up and there's going to be tanks rolling down the street and soldiers and all this other BS. That's how they're going to do it. Well, no, I wasn't thinking of, well, let's throw a pandemic out there. Do you understand? I mean, other than in small cases, and there have been, people have revolted on this. Police officers have arrested people over this. There's cases where, people have been beat over this. In San Francisco, I've heard stories. In New York, in the bigger areas. And it to me, that's what this showed. Whether it's a BS theory or not, it showed me, number one, I was wrong for sitting here thinking the government could never take control, because it just kind of did. And we sat and we took it. We did. Go back to, I'm not trying to, listen, I'm using this as a comparison, okay? But people have always asked, how could Hitler have done what Hitler did in Germany? If you know the history of that, he installed fear, the fear of the Jews, the fear of, the people being, manipulated by other countries, almost being laughed at. It's time to stick up for yourself. That's modern. It's modern. The Holocaust and Nazi Germany and whatnot. That's modern. That happened not too long ago. There's people walking the earth right now that were alive in that time. The easiest way to take over a country is to install fear. And maybe I'm nuts, but you don't find it a little odd that nobody really revolted over that? Not to say that you were right for doing that. I'm not calling for a revolt or a revolution or anything. I'm not calling for that. I'm not calling for a civil war. But it's interesting to me. And what that shows, I've told you, since this COVID-19 happened, really the only way it affected me was realizing our vulnerability, our dependence. Now, there's a lot of people that think again, you're nuts for thinking that. But if you want to sit here and tell me you don't believe what the government tells you, how can you then, knock other people's theories or opinions or whatever it is? So it was a man-made biological virus. There's was this a test run for the government? This is how you would take control if you wanted to. Listen, it's happened. Again, I'm not saying that Trump is Hitler and this is modern day Nazi Germany or whatnot, but it could have turned into that. It could have, quite honestly. So, when I see people that are I saw something the other day. I guess I can go to this. What is this? Nothing. Yeah, nothing to fear but fear itself. FDR. Saw something the other day, and I don't know if it was really a quote by Morgan Freeman or not, but I got it saved on my phone. And I posted it. I thought it was interesting. But let me find it here. Yeah, it's I just because I disagree with you doesn't mean I hate you. We need to relearn that in our society. Doing what I've done for such a long time, I understand the art of debate and having difference of opinions. It's beginning to, I mean, it has for a while, and I've seen this coming. Again, it got to the point where doing radio, it used to be on radio, you can't be obscene, but you can be offensive. Now, what that means is, we all know obscenities, the 7 dirty words of George Carlin, or talking in depth, about graphic sex or things of that nature. That's obscene. Then there's offensive. And, how can you define offensive? Like I said, it's offensive to say that, well, some people may die, but we have to open up the government. We have to open up, the stores. That's offensive. Now, you can't figure out why that's offensive, but you should be able to. Again, whether it was minimal or not, 2,000 people died. So you're minimizing the value of their life because you're struggling financially. That is considered an offensive statement. When it comes to even politics, I am fascinated how how a pandemic, how a virus, how something we have never dealt with before. I am absolutely fascinated as to how this has become political. Now, again, no theory is too outlandish, but I don't see how this should be politicized. I'm pretty sure Republicans have died from coronavirus. I'm pretty sure Democrats have died from coronavirus. Independents have died from coronavirus. I'm sure they have. This is not political. And even going to the election, how anybody could use this against Donald Trump is insane. I would say this about any president. People who know me know that I'm an independent. So it doesn't matter if Bernie Sanders was in the White House right now, okay? Because I know if you say Donald Trump, you're gonna tune out about 40% of the people. Okay, so let's say this was Bernie Sanders in the White House, and there was this pandemic. If you, and I know many of you would, Republicans or whatever, would be damning him. You have no right to do that because he's in the same shoes as everybody else. You have no idea how to handle something that you, quite frankly, have never endured. You don't know how to. So this isn't a political thing. And the fact that people turn it into that, again, it's just, I don't, how? It was the Democratic governors who shut down the states. And again, Mike DeWine is in Ohio. Mike DeWine, everybody knows, is a very left-leaning, anti-Trump kind of governor. Well, again, think outside the box here. Most of your big cities have either Democratic mayors, or if you're a state with a big city like a Los Angeles or like a New York or like a Chicago, and they primarily only vote Democrat no matter what. I mean, it's always a red or whatever. It's always a Democratic state. New York is always Democrat. It don't matter who you're going to put in running in the Democratic Party. New York is always going to vote Democrat. California is always going to vote Democrat. Illinois, always, because of Chicago, because of LA, because of San Francisco, because of New York. But they also have the biggest populations. So they had to shut things down because that's where this coronavirus is running rampant, where there's tons of homeless, obviously, and there's more people. So in my opinion, this isn't a political thing. And if you're going to sit here and somehow blame the administration for this, I don't get that one. I mean, you're looking for a reason to not vote for Trump, fine. But I don't get that. It could be anybody in here. And how can you blame them for handling a situation that they're not privy to, that they've never been exposed to, they've never been a part of? If you don't want to vote for Trump because you don't like certain things about him, I mean, fine, go ahead. But to use this as one, I think, again, it doesn't make sense unless, of course, you're under the thought process that he put it here. So going back to this, this art of debate, I always go back to this story. I know my father's out here watching, but I can remember vividly a time I was at my grandparents' house, and my grandmother was a typical grandmother, back in, this is probably the mid 90s, whatever it was. And she had that old school thought of certain things, which you're a product of your times. You were raised in an era where racism was accepted, and people didn't understand homosexuality and things like that. And growing up in the area that I did, in the era that I did, I should say, and the area to a point, but I was raised with that stuff, and I never really understood racism or being against homosexuality or gay marriage. And my grandmother and I would get into conversations about this. And my grandmother was a Spitfire, man. She would tell, she had no problems telling her opinion on things. And her and I would get into these conversations sometimes. And I remember, I specifically remember one time my father coming upstairs. He was downstairs. My grandmother and I were upstairs, and we're talking. And I don't remember if it wasn't heated or anything, but we're having a conversation back and forth. And my father, knowing him, his mentality was probably like I was being disrespectful to my grandmother, questioning her or talking to her, or having this discussion, giving opinions on it. And he came up and said something like, can you just calm down, quiet down? I go, we're just debating. And my grandmother kind of agreed. We're just debating. And that goes back to the Morgan Freeman of, if I disagree with your opinion, it doesn't mean I hate you. We just have a difference of opinion on something. But now it's to the point where you are so close-minded, number one, and I would say arrogant, that you believe your opinion is right. Now, I've made a living out of giving my opinions on things, but I'm the first to admit they're opinions. I mean, obviously, if it's your opinion, you think it's right, but you don't know that it is. That's why they're called opinions and not fact. There's facts. 2 + 2 is 4. That's a fact. You can't argue that. You can't have a difference of opinion on that because it's fact. But when it comes to things like this, you have opinions. And the fact that we allow opinions to cause so much anger and to cause, so much, to cause people to divide so much. It's really a screwed up time we're living in. I saw this coming doing the radio thing where I started getting called into the general manager's office. Like, did you say this? Well, yeah, you can't say that, or people complained about it. Okay, people are allowed to complain. But it's not obscene. It's not against regulations, what I said, but that's now the time we're living in. If you don't like what somebody has to say, you want to shut them down. Now, can you tell me a more arrogant way of thinking? I saw a post the other day from a friend of mine. I am no longer going to give my opinion on Facebook anymore. I'm done. Don't ask me. I'm not going to post it. Why the hell are people getting so upset at other people for their opinions? Sometimes you could listen to somebody's opinion and it may open your eyes in some way. Nobody's going to change your opinion on it. Nobody's going to change anybody's opinion. But there's nothing wrong with at least knowing the other side, knowing what they're thinking. I was trying to have a conversation with, this is going back a few months ago, with somebody who's very left to the point of, again, in my opinion, it's the whole, you remember back in the day, the Metallica and Napster, Napster bad kind of thing. That's how I feel about a guy even like Rush Limbaugh, Republican. Like, you listen to Rush Limbaugh, Republicans could do no wrong. It's comical to me, obviously, or Sean Hannity or whatever. Republicans could do no wrong. Well, yeah, they can. They're idiot politicians like the left, opposites. So to sit there and say your party is perfect and could do no wrong, I mean, come on now. So I wanted to have just an open conversation about the presidential election. So I called a friend of mine who I knew was a very left and a big time Bernie Sanders supporter. And this is when you could tell that Bernie Sanders was not going to get the nomination. And I called him. I said, boy, this just goes to show you. Now, this was a diehard Bernie Sanders guy. I go, it just goes to show you, man, how much, they wanted him out of there. And I honestly would have liked to have seen him in there. Because I didn't hate Bernie Sanders. I'm not a socialist. But Bernie Sanders is a guy that most politicians don't like. And if most politicians don't like you, it kind of means you're probably on the right track or doing the right thing. Same thing, again, with Donald Trump. People hate Donald Trump, and fine, you want to hate Donald Trump. But again, we go back to the time where we don't trust the government and we're sick of politicians in the White House. We're sick of politicians. And then suddenly, now you love politicians because you hate Donald Trump. I listen, I don't understand why anybody hates Donald Trump. I don't get it, but whatever. And it was the same thing with Bernie Sanders. So we're having the discussion a little bit, and I was saying, well, now, Bernie's out, who are you looking at? And of course it's Joe Biden. And As I'm talking I just wanted to have a conversation on it. And I found out it was impossible to have a conversation on it because it was, well, you how could you ever vote for Donald Trump? I don't care who he's running against. How can you ever vote for him? He's evil. He's this, he's that. He's just the most evil human being on the face of the planet. And I like, okay, why? How? What? I just wanted to talk about the Bernie Sanders thing or whatever. And I realized that there's no point in even trying to reach out. There's no point in even trying to have just a conversation anymore on things. Because there's so many people out there right now that are so close-minded that so close-minded, so arrogant that they won't even entertain a conversation. They're right, you're wrong. Well, that's not how it is. You're not right. I'm not right. But let's have a conversation about it. We've lost the art of debate. You know, there used to be a time, I've always kidded about this. I never understood why people fought over an argument. People fight over religion. You know, they always say when you're at a bar, don't talk about politics or religion. I like talking about politics and religion because it is such a, maybe a taboo or a touchy subject, but because so many people have a different opinion on it, I like to talk about it. But when I talk about it, I don't get angry. I'm not pissed at you if you are going to vote for the other guy. I'm not pissed at you if you're an uber religious person. I have an opinion. You have an opinion. We both have an opinion. Isn't life great? So you hear about these, situations, and I've been in it a million times where people, I'm going to fight you, Mo. I'm going to kick your ass. We're going to fight. Or you're out somewhere and somebody gets in your face over. It's like, you're getting in my face because I have a different opinion than you? You want to fight because I have a different opinion? You want to fight me or quit talking to me at all because I'm going to vote for the other guy? The divide in this country, even this COVID-19, in a situation where it really should have brought people together. I really believe this. It should have brought people together like, all right, let's deal with this as a whole. All it did was continue to divide. It's not real. Well, how are you people feeling now who 2 months ago were sitting here saying it's not real? Or it's the Democrats trying to get at Donald Trump. How are you feeling now? Because again, just in Ohio, 2,000 people died in 2 months. Again, per capita, I get it, but that's still 2,000 people that would still be alive today if we were not inflicted with this COVID-19. That's a fact. That is a fact. Okay, you can't, maybe some of them still would have died because of underlying health issues, but still. We are living in such a I don't understand it. The divide is it really is just it's incomprehensible to me. It's almost to the point where I don't even know how. No wonder the divorce rate is so higher, because somebody feels this way and they're not even willing to compromise or willing to hear you out or willing to hear your take or your opinion on something. My way's right. What's funny is I've been accused of that. Like, I will argue a point. I will debate a point, but I'm not mad at you because you have a difference of opinion. I'll fight for my opinion on it. But I'm not mad at you because you have a different one. You know, I know people, again, the people who are, no judgment situations. Like, yeah, again, the people who are very open-minded on things. And, for example, you want to, LGBTQ communities or whatever. What people love about that is, there's no judgment and you are who you are. And, we don't define people as man and woman, and we're all humans and what. I agree with that. But then tell them that, well, I'm going to vote for Trump. You'll get destroyed. Well, what happened to not judging somebody? I'll be honest with you. A lot of my friends are, well, I'm funny. I'm kind of torn. A lot of my friends are extremely right. A lot of my friends are extremely left. And I don't really know too many people who are like me in the middle. Because I'm totally in the middle. There's a lot of policies, a lot of beliefs of the Republican Party I don't stand with. And there's a lot on the Democratic side I don't stand with. So it's funny to hear people talk about be accepting of others, be accepting of, other people. And it should be like that. Be accepting of people's sexual orientation or, of people's color. But dare tell them that you're a Trump supporter. And I use Trump as an example because I don't think there's a president has ever caused a bigger divide than Donald Trump. Now, maybe I'm just ignorant and because this is the first time I really remember social media being involved and everything else. I remember it was Bush and everybody hated Bush, and every president has been compared to Hitler. So it was Clinton, it was Bush, it was Obama, it was whatever. But more so now, it's become this great divide. And what does it matter? You have an opinion, I have an opinion, but let's go on living life. So it's a weird time, a weird situation. And it's at the point where you can't even debate it. You can't talk about it. You're wrong, I'm right. And for somebody who enjoys hearing the other side and going into a situation, I've always been a very open-minded person. I always have been. If I wanted to know about something, I asked about it. If I wanted to know about, a religion, I asked about it. A belief, I asked about it. If I wanted to know about, I bring up, I bring up subjects that I've lived through. So again, the gay homosexuality thing, I asked about it. I talked to gay. I said, all right, so what is it? Explain it to me. Now, again, I went in with, I was never against it, but I was curious about it. Anybody who's against a certain thing, do you ever really ask about it? And it's the same thing now with the politics. Instead of assuming that you're right and everybody else is wrong, how about, try to educate yourself as to why somebody believes the way they do. It's never going to happen. It's stupid to even talk about it. Just go through your social media and see the divide. Again, people will, as stupid as it is, and it is stupid, I'm going to unfriend you. Okay, oh Christ almighty. Oh, are you? You're going to unfriend me? Gee, please don't do that. People take that shit real seriously too. I'm going, click. It's like the modern day slamming the phone down in your kitchen when you had the The home telephones slam. Oh yeah, boom, unfriend. Really? Why? Because I have a difference of opinion than you. Because you're throwing. See, this is what people don't get. All right. It's something that I got because of what I did. If you're going to put your opinion out there, that then opens up other people to give their opinion. So if you're going to post something, just like me, if I'm going to click on the button to turn on the microphone and I'm going to start off my show with an opinion, I better damn well anticipate that other people are going to call and they're going to give their opinion as well. And I better be open to that. It's the same thing. Hey, listen, I hung up on my share of callers. I absolutely have. But yeah, at times you realize, number one, there's time constraints, but you're not getting anywhere with it. And sometimes you're truly dealing with people who refuse to see another side. Just because I'm sticking by my opinion on something doesn't mean that I'm angry. You're not going to change my mind, but I'm open to having an intelligent debate, an intelligent conversation on it. One of the funnier things that's going on right now is with the whole Biden thing that I'm laughing about is the hashtag Me Too, my body, my choice, and all this other thing. Then you got a guy like Biden who has this sexual harassment thing with this Tara Reade. And suddenly it's okay now. Suddenly it's, well, all right. Because even though he may, and I'm not even going to say he may be a rapist, because as you know, if you're accused of something, you did it. Right? So if you're accused of it, you did it. All the people that came out against Kobe Bryant when he died and said he wasn't a good person because of what happened in Colorado. Or Masterson, the guy from that 70s show or The Ranch, who was taken off of Netflix because of an accusation. Because he did it. Because when you're accused of something, you did it. That's the society we're living in. Well, so if Joe Biden's accused of something, he did it, right? So you want to put a rapist in the White House? And again, I would be saying it just so happens that Biden's in there and Trump's in there. I enjoy pointing out the hypocrisy of things or how people manipulate situations to suit them. It's funny to me how people do that. They'll twist words and manipulate a situation to suit them so they're not the hypocrite that they truly are. That's the times we're living in, man. We're living in very odd, weird times. And I think, unfortunately, with this pandemic, it really showed you how divided this country really is. All right. I did want to do some other things here, but obviously I end up talking on a situation and it just goes on forever. Here, you want to talk about something happy? I saw this. It was the happiest songs of all time. I was trying to think of happy songs, but the happiest songs of all time. What is this? This is 170 artists re-record the "I'm Standing With You" COVID-19 relief. Oscar-nominated song "I'm Standing With You" for the movie Breakthrough. I haven't seen. I don't know what it's about. It was recorded by more than 170 artists and raised millions for COVID-19 relief. I don't even know what this is. Can we hear it here? Here we go. All right, that sucks. I'm hearing people say this to the we're all in this together. People are offended by that. That's like the big mantra. We're all in this together. People are, I'm offended by that. We're not all in this together. I mean, I agree. I mean, there's a lot of people who don't feel united, but we are all kind of dealing with this together. I mean, we're in different situations, but we are all in this together. So the happiest songs of all time, I saw number 3 here. I've always liked this one. I still jam it, to be honest with you. I've always liked that song. Bee Gees. Number 2 is Don't Stop Me Now, Queen. I know people love Queen. But Queen to me is hit or miss sometimes. They have a very unique style. I like Queen, I do. But there's some songs that I'll be even like that one. I'm like, I'm just not a fan of that one. Like there's diehard Queen fans, and I mean I like Queen. I'm just not one of them. Then number 1, happiest song of all time, Mr. Blue Sky by ELO. Here you go. The only people that were surveyed were adults between the ages of 30 and 55. So that makes sense. Because I'm like, where's Pharrell? I'm happy. Don't worry, be happy, or things like that. All right. That's probably about it. Something worth noting that I'm interested in. Yeah, this is not that there's really a correlation here, but one of the bigger conspiracies out there that have really come to light is the whole Epstein situation. And again, as I was having the conversation the other day about conspiracies or theories when it came to COVID-19, I brought up, there was a guy who had a rape / orgy / pedophile island out there and was suddenly killed in a maximum security prison when he was supposed to be guarded. So again, you want us to believe everything the government says, or do but you're going to tell me that's exactly how this Epstein thing went down? So I was reading here. I can't wait to watch, but that's just me. Former President Bill Clinton, Bill Clinton went to Orgy Island. He did. All right. There's reports on that. I believe they're documented. He went there. We had a president of the United States that went to a place called Orgy Island. Now, what went on there? Who knows? Were there underage kids? Who knows? But Clinton went there. And Clinton, amongst a million other people, went there. There's a new documentary. It's going to be on Netflix. It's called Jeffrey Epstein, Filthy Rich. And it starts streaming on Wednesday. I can't wait to watch this. The same area, Epstein is said to have held sex parties with other guests, including teenagers. This Orgy Island. And notice how nobody's talking about things that were found there. That story on Epstein isn't. He was friends with the Clintons since the mid 80s. Was it Prince Andrew as well? Really interesting, this whole thing. And I'll tell you, man, when he was found dead, I couldn't believe it because it was so blatantly obvious that something had happened. I don't know. I listened to a documentary on this guy not too long ago, and how he got his rise to power is insane. His thought was insane. How he wanted to create other Epsteins out there. I was just reading a story was maybe yesterday where they believe he could have 150 kids out there. Who the hell knows? This Epstein thing is insane. And all of these conspiracies about pedophiles and government and whatnot. If this Epstein isn't an eye opener to you, I don't know what should be or what is. The fact that this guy had ties to all the rich, the famous, the politicians. He was a convicted sex offender in Florida for having sex with how many high school students? He got off so easily. And these politicians and everybody were still friends with him, still taking his money. And then he's finally arrested. And he winds up dead in prison. Again, I know. There you go again, Mo, with your conspiracy theories. There you go again. But it starts on Wednesday. So what is today? Today's Wednesday. So a week from does it start today or a week from today? I'll have to look. Today is Wednesday, right? I don't even know days anymore. Clinton also claims to have no knowledge of the sex crimes to which he pled guilty. Oh, right. Yeah, nobody, you didn't know that. You were only friends. They were friends since the 80s. Just keep that in mind. It's documented. The Clintons were friends with Epstein since the 80s. Documented. So, yeah, I'm not sure if it's this Wednesday or next Wednesday that comes out on Netflix, but I will definitely be watching that one. All right, I'm out. I'm done. You guys have a good day. TheMoRadioShow@gmail.com. If you want to shoot me an email, if you'd like to be a guest, something you want to talk about, get a hold of me, shoot me a message, shoot me an email, and I will talk to you later. It's the Mo Radio Show.